Hello there and welcome back to another edition of Silly Car Showdown. Today we are taking a look at the Subaru Impreza 22B. This car was requested by Muhammad Issa, and the B in this case stands for build because that's what we are going to do to this vehicle. Of course, this is the earliest model of Subaru Impreza that we have in the game. Can't quite remember the chassis code on this one, but I call it the Peanut Eye. The 22B being the most sought after of all of those. It had a wider body kit on it, it had a upgraded engine to 2.2 litres, hence the 22, and they only made, I can't remember how many of these they made, I think it was around 500 or so. So yes, also we have the classic rally livery on this one, of course. Anyways, in terms of actually upgrading this car, well, we do have some engine swaps. We have a 6.2 litre V8, which we put in the Heretic Impreza, the 2 litre flat 4 turbo rally, and a 4 litre flat 6. Now we are going to go for the 2 litre flat 4 turbo rally. The flat 6 we'll come back to later, but yes, the flat 4 turbo rally, an engine that we haven't used, and actually an engine which is in virtually no vehicles whatsoever. I believe it's exclusively Volkswagens and Subarus. So that's interesting. Speaking of interesting is all of these sort of body mods, which I'm not that much a fan of. I might go for that just because it looks ridiculous. Wings are also equally stupid. Of course, no Forza aero is allowed, so the car will be running its stock aero. In terms of rear bumpers, I guess that one is the better of the bunch. The rear bumpers are slightly less offensive than the normal ones. We could have some drag reducing mud flaps, but we will have a aftermarket side skirt, why not? And finally, of course, we have the usual selection of rally lights, which apparently sort of discount with some weight, so sod it, we'll go for those. Right, tyres, not actually sure what to expect in terms of this vehicle. 275s on the front and 275s on rear, yep. Of course, it's four-wheel drive. So that does make sense. They're actually relatively okay sized tyres. I will give the car that in its favour. Right, we want the clutch, we want the transmission. I am noticing that launch stat is very, very high, so that is somewhat promising. It has to be said. Brakes, yes, we are going to want those. We are going to want the race suspension, which makes the car look slightly less ridiculous, although the rear seems to be a lot more raised up, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Weight reduction, of course, we're not going to reduce much weight out of this. This is the two-door Impreza, so weight isn't on the high side. Anyways, apparently that decreases launch, okay, sure, but we'll probably get that back through some of these upgrades. The turbo adds a hell of a lot of power, as it does to the standard turbo rally. And, yeah, there we go, S1877. We end up with 645 horsepower, 578 foot-pound torque, 2,449 pounds of weight, 2.3 seconds to 60, that's very impressive, and 192 miles per hour top speed. That probably means this does have a shorter ratio gearbox, but 190 miles an hour is more than enough for our course, so we will not end up touching that. So, yeah, that is the 22B built up and ready to go. It certainly is a peculiar looking thing now with this body kit. Again, not quite sure what to make of that, but if the game gives me the option to do it, I may as well go ahead and do it. So, let's take it to the track and see if it can do just as well as its other Subaru Impreza brethren that have taken on the track before. So here we are at our Edinburgh course, ready to set 5 laps with our Subaru Impreza 22B. The current leader is the Ferrari FXXK, that's at a time of 134.196. The 22B is unlikely to beat that. In terms of where it should go, well, we've had quite a few Imprezas and they've done very well. We've had the V8 Impreza, which was a 2011 model, which got a 143.504, and we already had the superb Subaru Impreza Hawkeye, which was ran on its stock engine, which got a 145.958. So it'll be interesting to see how this vehicle, with the Turbo Rally Flat 4, ends up getting on. Again, because it is actually the lightest of the Imprezas in the game, so that should perhaps give it an advantage. And the Turbo Rally engine is actually the lightest available engine for this vehicle, because it decreases the displacement back down to 2 litres and also is, well, it's a rally engine, it's a racing engine, so it does give it a little bit more in that regard, which is good. Turbos do make a lot of boost in this. I did actually check. Not quite as much boost as the standard Turbo Rally, where it makes about 73.5 pounds of boost. This makes 58.8, so yeah, still a hell of a lot of boost, but not quite as much, so that is worth pointing out. I've got to say, it's absolutely phenomenal to drive a car which is not awful like that Clio was last time. I actually have the ability to go around corners in this car, which is good. Now the question is, how good can we go around corners? Although that does remain to be seen. So far, it's not feeling quite as good as the other Imprezas, but you never know. 148.643 is not a particularly amazing first lap out, but we'll have to see. It does seem to be relatively good through these sort of more agile sections. The fact that this is smaller than a typical Impreza helps, and again it's lighter than every Impreza in the game. Maybe barring the VT15R rally car, which is where this turbo rally engine actually comes from. That might have this beat in terms of weight figure, but I don't think it does. And also, if it does, it's nowhere near, well, I say nowhere near, it's not as small as this is, because obviously this is a two-door back when Imprezas were made as coupes, or as I call them, the Dark Ages. Yeah, straight line speed is not massive, it has to be said, as in it's really not very good at all. 141 down there is sort of on the lower end of average. We have had slower cars, admittedly, but yeah, power certainly does not seem to be this car's highest regard. I mean, the torque figure was not massive, so I guess that's to be expected. But even still, it's a Subaru, so it does get a good launch out of the corners. That much is certain. I think the 2 second 0 to 60 time might have been slightly optimistic on the game's behalf, but other than that, yeah. Also, the gearbox might not be quite as close a ratio as I personally maybe would want in a car like this. It's sort of one of those engines where you constantly want it in the boost, and I'm sure it is, but ooh, 146.408. I think that's actually tied with the Viper box Mustang right there, so we are starting to go down in lap time, which is nice. Yeah, I love doing that first section in this car. It is really very, very quick through sort of that first bit up to this bridge. It is phenomenal. Sort of as I'm starting to get used to it, I'm starting to like it more. It does feel a little bit understeery, but then again, that's sort of a trait of Subaru Imprezas. That's what they do. That's the sort of trade-off you get for having a car which is good at pretty much anything, which the Impreza is. I have often claimed, and you probably have heard it, well, quite a few times during this series in the Impreza episodes, and even during the Evo one, I think I mentioned it. You know, in terms of building a car in this game, if you're not sure what to build for, or you want to build, you know, you just don't know what car to build for a specific type of racing, you can never go wrong with the Subaru Impreza. There is no real weakness to the Impreza. It can be pretty much anything you want, and it will do it admirably. Now granted, it's not, they can't have that much power through them, unless you stick a V8 in them and you sort of ruin the driving dynamics of them, but you can do it. I mean, you can turn these into drag cars and all sorts. They're very useful machines to do that in. And also the 22B is a barn find, so it's free, so there you go. Unless you want to buy one off the auction house, 144.977. We really are getting that time down now. It's beaten the Hawkeye. Damn you, Azza, why did you have to make me use the standard engine in that thing? Yeah. Okay, I'm really starting to get a hang of this now. It's a really nice driving car. I'm sorry, Subaru, for doubting you and your sort of lack of straight line speed. Apparently it really did not matter, because your handling prowess is incredible. I mean, the Hawkeye was superb, well, hence why it was in his name, superb, or Hawkeye, but this is something else. Well, I say it's something else. The Hawkeye was very, very good. Again, I don't want to disrespect the Hawkeye, but the simple fact is this is probably a hell of a lot lighter. And I think this actually has more power than the Hawkeye did, because I think the Hawkeye was sort of 596 horsepower, and I think this is making 640, I believe was the figure. So, yeah. And again, all you really get is a slight tinge of understeer, and it'll just carry on. It's super easy to drive. That's one thing I will definitely note about this vehicle. Very, very easy. Very neutral. It's just good. It's just really, really, very, 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 very good. Again, maybe you would expect that, but that's what I like about Imprezas. They don't really do surprises when it comes to Subaru Imprezas. The only thing that will surprise you is how nice they drive. You know, they're not there to be novelty cars or to mess you around or to give you random results when you go around corners. You know, they're here to give you smart, consistent, nice handling, which this one does admirably. Very admirably indeed. Not quite as quick through that first section as I was the last few times though. A little bit worried about it. I want to see if I can get it any quicker, but I think that 1:44.977 was a very, very quick time for this car. A lot quicker than I was expecting it, to be honest. I was expecting, with that first opening lap, I was sort of more expecting this to hover around 1:46s. So the fact that it's done much better than that is a testament to it, really. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a nice, easy, awesome car to drive. There's no real way around that. And I mean, the PI on this is relatively low. I think this is... I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think it's like S1877, somewhere around there. And it's doing remarkably well. I mean, in terms of PI, sort of around the 145 is when we really start seeing S2 class cars. So the fact that this has managed to crock itself in there is pretty good. That was a very good sector. That was incredible right there. Right. I don't know if this will be any quicker, but I think that last section was fantastic. Sort of the switchblade managed to do that quite well. Oh, I'm gonna outbrake myself into there, bollocks. Right, you know, it probably hasn't killed it too much. I don't think it's gonna go any quicker. No. But, yeah, it is a hell of an impressive car, this one. A 1:44.977 is the final time for the 22B. Yeah. Really, very, very, very good. As you'd expect from a Subaru Impreza, it does very, very well indeed. It's yeah, I can't think of a single bad thing to really say about it. Again, as usual for an Impreza, you get the slight tinge of understeer. Might not be the quickest thing in the straight line, this particular one, but, you know, if you put the flat 6 in this, which, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, that is coming. A flat 6 Impreza will take on the track eventually. And I know which one it's going to be, and it's coming up, I don't know when it's going to come up, but it's going to be relatively soon. Yeah. Anyways, 1:44.977 will put this car into 18th place. It goes in between the Death Wish Willys and the lovely Quartz Regalia. Yeah, another lovely car to sort of join that pack. It is a second quicker, almost, than the superb Super Impreza Hawkeye. It is a second and a half down on the V8 Impreza. But yeah, still an incredible car to drive. One that I really have enjoyed having the pleasure of driving, so yeah, it's surprising. You know, I was not expecting this to be quite that quick. I was sort of, with that opening lap, I was maybe expecting this to be slower than the Hawkeye, but as it turns out, it's sort of somewhere in between those two, so yeah, well done, Subaru Impreza 22B. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching this edition of Silly Car Showdown. Do hope you've enjoyed. As always, if you'd like to request cars for a series, you can do so down below in the comment section. Alternatively, you can join my Discord, link in the description below, and post the cars in the request chat. That's the best way to do it, as it allows me to keep an eye on them and to organise them better, but you can request them in the comment section, there's no issue there. With that all being said and done, thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.